The night it all began, I never believed in ghosts. Not really. I laughed at people who claimed they heard whispers in the dark, or saw shadows move where no one stood. I always told myself there's an explanation for everything: bad wiring, creaky wood, and overactive imagination. That night, though, the night it all began, stripped away every ounce of disbelief I had. It started with a dare. My friends knew I wasn't afraid of much, so they challenged me to spend a night inside the abandoned house at the edge of town. Everyone knew the stories. People said the family who lived there had vanished without a trace. Some swore they saw lights flicker through the windows at night, even though the power had been cut years ago. Kids whispered that if you stood too close to the house after midnight, you could hear crying from inside. I brushed it all off. Ghost stories. Nothing more. So, with a flashlight in one hand and my phone in the other, I pushed open the rotting wooden door and stepped inside. The first thing that hit me was the smell. Damp, moldy, like the walls themselves were rotting from the inside out. The air was thick, heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. My flashlight beam cut across the dust, and the motes swirled as if disturbed by something unseen. I told myself to stay calm. One night, just one night. I'll record some videos, prove it's all fake, and walk out $100 richer. That's all I was thinking. But the house seemed alive in a way that made me hesitate with every step. The floorboards groaned beneath me, not just with my weight, but like they were responding, almost complaining. The staircase ahead twisted upward into shadow, and my light caught the edge of a family portrait still hanging crooked on the wall. I stopped. The photo was so caked in grime I could barely make out the faces, but there was something strange about it. The family, 2 parents, a little girl, and a boy were smiling, yet their eyes looked. I shook it off and kept moving, forcing a laugh that sounded too nervous in the silence. The living room was worse. Furniture draped with sheets, all yellowed and sagging with age. My flashlight beam landed on a cracked mirror above the fireplace. My reflection wavered in it, not broken, not distorted by the crack, just delayed. For half a second, my reflection didn't move with me. I froze. The light trembled in my hand. "It's just your mind playing tricks," I whispered out loud, just to hear my own voice, just to prove I was still in control. And then I heard it. A soft thump upstairs. I snapped my head toward the staircase. Dust fell from the ceiling, floating lazily in the air like snow. My throat went dry. I wanted to believe it was just a rat, maybe a bird trapped in the attic. But the sound had weight. It was a footstep. I thought about leaving right then, but pride is a stupid thing. I didn't want to be the one who ran out screaming after 5 minutes. So I climbed the stairs, one careful step at a time, my flashlight quivering with every movement. At the top, the hallway stretched into darkness. Wallpaper peeled from the walls like dead skin, and every door was closed except one, the door at the very end. It was open just a crack. And that's when I heard it. A whisper, faint, almost like a breath against my ear. I froze so hard my legs locked in place. The beam of my flashlight shook wildly, dancing across the hall. "Who's there?" I croaked, my voice cracking. No answer, just silence. Then another thump, closer this time. I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, get out, and never look back. But something deeper inside me pushed me forward. Curiosity, stupidity, I don't know. I reached the end of the hall. My hand hovered over the half-open door. My heart hammered so loud I was sure the whole house could hear it. I pushed it open. The room beyond was small, almost empty, except for a single wooden chair facing the corner. My light swept across the walls, bare and stained with something dark. And then the chair moved, slowly, scraping against the floor, turning just enough for me to see the shadow of someone sitting there. But the chair was empty. Footsteps that weren't mine. I spun around so fast, I nearly dropped my flashlight. The beam cut through empty air, landing on cracked wallpaper and dust-choked corners. No one was there. No one had spoken my name. And yet I swear I felt the breath on the back of my neck. I backed out of the room slowly, my pulse hammering against my skull. The chair hadn't moved again, but it didn't matter. The house was wrong. It was awake, watching. The hallway stretched before me, darker now, like the shadows had thickened while I wasn't looking. I tried to steady my breathing, forcing myself to walk toward the stairs. But that's when I heard it again. Footsteps, not mine. They echoed just behind me, perfectly timed, like something was copying me. Step for step. I froze mid-stride. The sound froze too. My chest tightened. I turned around slowly, flashlight trembling in my grip. The hallway behind me was empty, but the silence was worse than the sound. It pressed against me, heavy, expectant. Then, from downstairs, a floorboard groaned. Someone or something was moving in the living room. I should have run. I should have bolted down those stairs, through the front door, and never looked back. But instead, I leaned over the railing and aimed my light down into the dark. That's when I saw it. A shape just at the edge of my beam. It wasn't clear, not a body, not even a full shadow. More like a ripple in the darkness itself, standing near the cracked mirror above the fireplace. I blinked, gone. A cold sweat broke over me. I wanted to believe it was my eyes playing tricks, but deep down, I knew better. I forced myself down the stairs, each creak of the wood echoing like a scream in the silence. The air grew colder with every step, as if I were sinking deeper into the house's throat. When I reached the bottom, the mirror caught my attention again. A reflection stared back at me, but it wasn't right. I was holding the flashlight in my right hand. My reflection held it in the left. I stumbled back, choking on my breath. My reflection tilted its head slightly, just a fraction off from mine, before snapping back into sync like nothing had happened. My mind screamed, "Get out! Get out! Get out!" But my body refused to move. I just stood there, heart hammering, light shaking. Then the footsteps returned. This time they came from the hallway behind the living room. Slow, deliberate, dragging steps, like bare feet sliding across wood. "Hello?" I whispered, though I hated myself for saying it. My voice cracked, thin and useless in the choking silence. The steps stopped, and then tap, tap, tap. A soft knocking sound, not from the walls, from beneath the floor. My stomach dropped. I aimed my flashlight at the ground, half expecting to see something clawing its way up through the wood. The sound echoed, spreading beneath me, traveling toward the center of the room. The fireplace. I swallowed hard, stepping closer. My light skimmed across the bricks, and for the briefest second, I saw fingers thin, pale fingers, curling between the cracks before vanishing. I stumbled back, slamming into a covered armchair. My flashlight jerked wildly, sending frantic beams across the room. Dust swirled, and in that chaos, I saw something move in the corner. Figure, small, child-sized. It darted past the doorway fast enough to make my breath hitch in my throat. My beam caught just a blur of pale skin, dark eyes, and tangled hair before it disappeared into the hall. My brain screamed at me to leave, but my legs moved forward instead. I couldn't stop myself. I had to see. The hallway stretched out before me, long and suffocating. At the very end, just for a moment, I saw her, a little girl, standing perfectly still, her head tilted to one side. She raised her hand slowly and pointed at me. My light flickered. When it steadied again, she was gone. That's when every door in the hallway slammed shut at once. Bang. The sound rattled the walls, shook dust from the ceiling. I staggered back, gasping for breath, my ears ringing, and then, behind me, footsteps. Again, but this time, they didn't stop when I did. They kept coming. Closer. The face in the darkness. The footsteps were right behind me now, not echoing, not mimicking, following. I spun around, flashlight shaking in my grip. The beam cut across peeling wallpaper, broken picture frames, and nothing else. The hall was empty, but I could still hear it, slow dragging steps, circling me. The sound wasn't coming from one place anymore. It was everywhere. In front of me, behind me, above me. My skin prickled with cold sweat. "Stop it," I whispered, my voice cracking. This isn't funny. The air shifted, heavy, thick, like someone exhaling into my face. I raised the flashlight, my hand trembling so hard the beam quivered across the walls. For a second, just a second, it landed on something that shouldn't have been there. Face pressed against the wall. Its features were distorted, stretched too long, as though the plaster itself had swallowed it. Sunken eyes stared back at me, mouth gaping in a silent scream. I stumbled back, the flashlight slipping from my sweaty hand and clattering to the floor. The beam spun wildly, throwing twisted shadows across the ceiling. My breath came fast and shallow, every muscle screaming to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. The face moved. The plaster around it cracked, spider webbing across the wall as if the thing inside was pushing to get out. Its mouth opened wider and wider still, until the sound finally came, a whisper, "My name." I scrambled for the flashlight, grabbing it with trembling hands and pointing it back at the wall, but the face was gone, just cracked, peeling plaster, as if nothing had ever been there. I wanted to leave. God, I wanted to leave. But something wouldn't let me. Every time I edged toward the front door, it felt like the shadows thickened, pulling me deeper into the house. I backed into the living room again, chest heaving, my ears straining in the silence. That's when the mirror caught me again. Only this time my reflection wasn't alone. Behind me, in the reflection, stood the girl. Her hair hung in tangled clumps, face pale as paper, eyes wide and unblinking. She stood so close that if she were real, I should have felt her against my back. But when I spun around, the room was empty. My reflection didn't move. I froze. My own face in the mirror stared back, terrified, but still. The girl remained behind it, her hand resting on my shoulder. My throat went dry. I lifted my hand slowly, just to see if the reflection would copy me. It didn't. My reflection just smiled, slow, unnatural curl of the lips that didn't belong to me. I staggered back, tripping over the corner of a sheet-covered couch. My light spun wildly across the room as I scrambled to my feet. The mirror rattled against the wall as though something inside was trying to push its way through. Then I heard it, giggle, high-pitched, childlike, floating down the hallway. It froze me more than any scream could. My chest tightened, my stomach turned cold. That sound didn't belong here. "Who's there?" My voice was barely audible, shaking, desperate. The giggle turned into a low, guttural laugh. Wrong, distorted, as if two voices were speaking at once. One child, one, something else. I lifted the flashlight toward the hall, and that's when I saw her. Not the reflection, not a blur. The girl. She stood halfway down the hallway, her head tilted, her hair hanging in a mess across her face. Her dress was stained, her bare feet leaving no prints in the dust. She lifted her head slowly, strands of hair sliding away, and I finally saw her eyes, black, not just dark black, as if the sockets had been hollowed out. I stumbled back, breath catching in my throat. "Stay away from me," I begged. She didn't move, but the shadows around her did. They curled up the walls, stretching like long fingers, crawling toward me across the floor. My flashlight flickered, sputtered, then died. Darkness swallowed me whole. The footsteps started again, circling me, closer, louder, and in that suffocating black, I felt it. A hand, small, ice cold, slipping into mine. I screamed. No way out. I yanked my hand back, but there was nothing there. Nothing I could see, at least. The chill lingered on my skin, sinking straight into my bones like frostbite. My flashlight sputtered, flared weakly, then went out for good. Darkness swallowed me. I fumbled for my phone, my last source of light. My fingers trembled as I unlocked it, the glow barely cutting through the suffocating shadows. The battery icon mocked me 9%. I aimed the screen down the hallway, but the girl was gone. The silence pressed in again, heavy and endless, like the house itself was holding its breath. I told myself to move. Just go. Get to the front door and leave. No dare, no money, no pride was worth this. The phone's weak glow bounced across the walls as I stumbled forward. Chest tightened with every step until finally I saw it. The front door. Relief crashed through me so hard I almost cried. I rushed to it, nearly tripping over a warped floorboard. My hand wrapped around the handle and yanked. Locked. I twisted harder, pulling, shoving my shoulder into the wood. Nothing. The door wouldn't even rattle. "Come on," I shouted, slamming my fists against it. "Let me out." My own voice echoed back at me, bouncing down the hall until it sounded like a chorus of whispers. "Let me out. Let me out." I froze, my breath catching. Those weren't echoes. The voices were repeating me, mocking me from deeper inside the house. My phone flickered. 7%. I spun around, scanning the living room, the hall, the staircase. Shadows writhed in the corners, shifting just out of sight. The air grew thicker, heavier, pressing down on me like I was standing at the bottom of a deep well. I backed away from the door, my mind scrambling for another way out. Windows, kitchen, back door. There had to be something. I stumbled through the hallway and into the kitchen. The smell hit me first trat, sour and wet like meat left in the sun. My phone's light skimmed across shattered cabinets, rusted pans, a sink black with grime, the window above it. My way out. I dropped my phone into my pocket, gripped the window frame, and pulled. Stuck, I shoved harder, wood groaning under the strain, until at last it gave way just an inch, then two. Night air rushed in, sweet and sharp. Relief surged through me. I shoved harder, desperate to force it open, when something slammed it shut from the outside. My hands flew back. The glass rattled, vibrating under the impact, but didn't break. I staggered away, shaking my head. No. Something moved beyond the glass. A face, pale, smiling, staring in at me. I screamed and fell back against the counter, my phone skidding across the floor. When I scrambled to grab it, the window was empty. 5%. My breaths came fast, ragged. I couldn't think, couldn't plan. The walls felt like they were closing in, each room smaller than the last. I ran through the house, slamming into doors, clawing at locked windows, every exit sealed shut. The house wasn't letting me go. Somewhere upstairs, a door creaked open, slow, long. The sound echoed through the halls like an invitation. I froze at the bottom of the staircase, my phone light flickering in my hand. I didn't want to go up. Every nerve in my body screamed don't, but deep down, I knew I had no choice. If I stayed downstairs, the whispers would close in, the shadows would swallow me. The only path was up. Each step groaned as I climbed, my phone shaking so hard the light jittered against the walls. The air grew colder with every step until I could see my breath puff white in front of me. At the top, the hallway stretched out like before. Only this time, every door stood wide open. And inside each room, shapes waited in the dark. Figures tall, thin, wrong. I couldn't see their faces, but I could feel their eyes. All of them watching me, waiting for me to move. My phone buzzed in my hand. A notification. I glanced down, confused. It was a text message.
Ow!
From an unknown number. You shouldn't have come here. My blood ran cold. My hand shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. When I looked back up, one of the figures had stepped into the hall. It was smiling. The secret buried within the figure's smile was too wide, stretched teeth like broken shards, glowing faintly in the dark. My breath hitched, my body locked in place. Every instinct screaming at me to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. The others began to move too. One by one, the shapes in the rooms stepped into the hallway. Slow, silent, their bodies bent at strange angles, like marionettes on tangled strings. The air grew colder, heavier, until my chest felt like it might cave in. I stumbled back, raising my dying phone like a shield. The screen flickered, dimmer no 3%. Stay back, I whispered, though my voice cracked, weak, pathetic. The smiling figure tilted its head, then pointed. It's not at me. At the end of the hall, a door I hadn't noticed before. It was smaller than the others, warped and stained, half hidden behind peeling wallpaper. Something about it pulled at me, even as the figures closed in. Like the house itself wanted me to go there. My heart hammered as I forced myself toward it, every step shaking. The figures didn't follow. I just watched, silent, waiting. I reached the door. My fingers trembled as I wrapped them around the knob. It was cold ice. Cold, like touching metal left in the snow. I twisted, it groaned, but opened. Inside was a narrow staircase, spiraling down into darkness. A smell wafted up, rot, damp earth, something worse beneath it, metallic and sharp. My stomach churned, but I knew I had no choice. The figures were behind me now, blocking any way back, so I went down. Step by step, the air grew colder, wetter, until it felt like the walls themselves were dripping. My phone's glow barely lit the steps ahead, and I knew if it died, I'd be swallowed whole by the dark. At the bottom, The stairs opened into a small, low-ceilinged basement. The walls were dirt, the floor uneven stone, and in the center of the room was a pit. I froze. The pit was ringed by broken boards as though it had been sealed once, long ago. But the boards had been torn away. The hole gaped like a wound in the earth, and from it came that smell, thick, choking, metallic. I edged closer, light shaking in my hand. That's when I saw them. Bones. Dozens of them. Small, fragile, scattered around the pit like discarded toys. Children. My stomach lurched, bile burning my throat. I staggered back, nearly tripping, but my eyes couldn't look away. There were carvings on the walls etched deep into the dirt, symbols I didn't understand, curling and jagged like something alive. And then I heard it, a voice from the pit. Not a whisper this time, a chorus. Dozens of voices crying out all at once. Some screaming, some weeping, some chanting in a language I couldn't understand. My phone buzzed again in my hand. Another message. "You belong here," I screamed, dropping the phone. The screen cracked, the light flickered once, twice, then went black. Darkness swallowed me. The voices grew louder, surging up from the pit, echoing through my skull. My ears rang. My vision swam, though I couldn't see anything at all. The air felt thick, pressing in on me from all sides, and then hands. Small, countless hands. Grabbing at my legs, my arms, my clothes, clawing, pulling me toward the pit. I fought, thrashing wildly, but the ground gave way beneath me. My fingers clawed at dirt, stone, anything to hold on. The voices rose into a shriek, deafening. As I slid into the pit, I saw them, faces. Dozens of children's faces, pale and hollow-eyed, staring up at me from the darkness. Their mouths moved in unison, whispering words I couldn't understand. And behind them, towering over them, something larger, something older. A shape with too many limbs, eyes that glowed like embers in the dark, a smile that stretched impossibly wide. The truth hit me like ice water. This house wasn't haunted, it was hungry. I was its next meal. The last thing I felt was those hands pulling me under. The last thing I heard was the chorus of voices, no longer whispers, but laughter. And then nothing. Darkness forever.